Hi, this is Gary Auden. I'm bringing you an EDUcast, Eliminating Security Barriers, sponsored by ION, part of API Technologies, and Telecom Reseller. With me today is Henry Gold, General Manager, API Technologies, ION Networks. And as we usually do, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. We're talking about remote service delivery, which is extremely common today, and people want to do it better. But one of the issues with remote service delivery is the security. And a number of mistakes that can be made. Henry's going to go through the evolution of remote management and show us where we came from, where we're going, talk about how do we keep up with this, why security staff limitations can be a real problem and maybe automation can help you there. We'll discuss solutions you may need and why you have to view this as an architecture, not just simply as a bunch of black boxes. So Henry, let's get started with the first question. Remote management has become very popular. But what are the challenges and barriers that service providers are encountering?
Absolutely, Gary. Most VoIP resellers are providing value-added services that are a critical piece of their business. And to deliver these services, the MSP needs flexible access to monitor and to administer the equipment located typically at the customer office or possibly in the cloud. So the first challenge is the voice applications may have specific connectivity requirements, and those applications also may have special software management tool requirements. The second challenge then is the monitoring tools, and they may have specific connectivity requirements. So what results is the MSPs build a mixed bag of access technologies to enable these remote services, depending on the selection of equipment and software tools. Now, the final challenge is meeting the customer security requirements. Typically, they're not all that interested in supporting a new remote access technology to enable third-party vendor access. In fact, their security teams have edicts and have their own vetted secure access technologies that they'd like to make the third-party vendors use to access the equipment. Ultimately, having this patchwork of access methods for the MSP results in a higher cost and potentially delay in delivering remote services to an incomplete secure solution.
So you're talking about the word vulnerabilities in a way, and there are a number of reports out there. Can you discuss some of the reports and their conclusions?
Well, everyone remembers Snowden's breach at the NSA a few years ago. He stole a great deal of sensitive data. Well, how did he do it? He had unrestricted access as a network administrator, and no one was monitoring his activities. Snowden was an insider, and what is referred today as a privileged user. These are people who have administrative access rights to systems. So not only do these privileged users make up the majority of breaches on networks today, but they're also the most costly because these people have the knowledge about where important data is stored in the network. They also are the most capable individuals in creating a service disruption on a network. So the challenge to the privileged user attack is typically takes much longer to identify when these attacks occur. So this is why security officers are objecting to third-party access that has potentially weak security and no visibility in what a privileged administrator is doing or has done on a network element.
Now, you've been talking about third-party access, and you have a list of 6 mistakes here. Which of the 2 or 3 that you think are most important for us to think about?
Weak access is where we start, right? Engineers who design a network often design in access methods needed to remotely manage the system. These are the people who have to fix a network when there's a problem. So they create typically less secure backdoors that enable this remote access. Too often we trust these design engineers to do the right thing, though today we trust them. What about tomorrow? What if they're no longer a member of our team? They still have the knowledge of how to open up these backdoors. This exposes not only the service provider, but also their customer. The second issue is being dependent on the voice application vendors or the management tool vendors to implement security properly. Sometimes, sorry to say, security is not their priority. Often they leverage open source tools and techniques with minimal configurations, leaving the managed service provider and customer greatly exposed. Or they only implement one or two security techniques, such as encryption and audit, but they leave weak passwords. So secure access can't be an afterthought. It must be a core component from day one in designing a new services offer. The third and last item I'd like to highlight is the managed service provider does not design in customers' abilities to see or control what the MSP's activities are while inside their network. Often the MSP believes, well, we're trusted, so why worry about what we're doing on systems in your network? Or worse, this is the customer's problem. It's important to understand that customers need to meet security compliance dictates, be it for an internal audit or from a regulatory compliance perspective, such as SOX, HIPAA, or PCI. To meet these compliance requirements, the customer must know everything a service provider does inside the network with granular control and audit. They also just want to make sure that they're doing a good job.
One of the points I think is important on the next slide, and it goes back to my own history. Years ago, we did solutions through truck rolls and people going out there. It was expensive. It was also not particularly good. What's happened over the last couple of decades?
Well, what hasn't happened is the problem hasn't gone away. From the beginning of IT equipment, we've had this challenge of securing the privileged user. Back in the day, it started with mainframes. Systems were centrally located, but the people managing them were typically remote, and they were using modems to access the mainframe. As networks migrated to distributed architecture, the remote access also became distributed. What also changed was the networks we used to delivering these services, right? We started with a modem, migrated to IP or the internet, and now managed service providers can use broadband or wireless access. We've also seen the management interfaces change over time. Legacy PBXs, routers, switches use character-based console or telnet interfaces. Today's applications need web, RDP, or proprietary clients to manage them. Also, we have monitoring applications such as SNMP and syslog. Today, we're seeing a migration to applications that run in the cloud. And so how do you deliver services to these platforms? Over time, the system interfaces, management tools, networks have changed, but the need to secure these interfaces is still a high priority. And in fact, these technology changes, it's just made securing these interfaces and systems much more difficult.
When I look at this evolution, you keep talking about change, and IT is in charge of this, but IT has to keep evolving as well. How do they keep up?
Well, it's a challenge, right? Typical security applications are for connecting multiple offices or enabling telecommuters. Delivering remote services is a different type of application. And so trying to enable this access using traditional secure access tools is like putting a round peg in a square hole. With a weak approach to implementing a secure access solution by the managed service provider, best cases could result in a delay of enabling services, maybe weeks, possibly months, as you negotiate with your customer. Worst cases, if you can't get past these barriers, you'll end up delivering a lesser level of service, which is not only bad for the service provider, but it's also bad for the customer since they're not getting what they paid for. So the MSP who can deploy a robust service offering that has a complete security capability will differentiate themselves in the market and satisfy their customers' needs.
You keep talking about security and security personnel, but what I've learned is that it's really hard to get a hold of security staff, and it would seem to me that the more you can automate this process, the more you can circumvent the problem of getting security staff. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, finding cyber experts is a big challenge in today's market. Even when you find a good resource, the remote service delivery application covers a wide range of networking systems and applications, which is a daunting task for any cyber expert. An MSP needs to deploy a remote service delivery architecture that provides a strong defense against cyber attacks, but doesn't require any additional resources or costs. Solving the problem is a win-win scenario for both the vendor and their customers.
So now we move on to the concept of what's the solution to all of this?
Well, it starts with secure access. Just like a house, a strong security foundation will eliminate customer objections when it's time to deliver services. Best-of-class encryption and strong authentication, robust audit and control. These are the core pillars to a secure service delivery infrastructure. You also need a flexible infrastructure solution that can be used to monitor and access almost any IT or voice device application, utilizing any management application. This infrastructure must be independent of the VoIP application and management vendors' tools. So why is this important? Because consistent access methods across all service offerings, it enables the service provider to quickly provide services. It also allows adaptation to new applications and management tools as customers' needs change. So the final piece is you need a security architecture that utilizes tested and trusted security techniques, things like encryption, authentication, and audit. Deploying systems that are certified with such as FIPS and common criteria ensures the security system was vetted by a third party and ensures that the product has properly implemented the security features.
Two words come to mind as you're talking about this, and those are visibility, both for the MSP and the customer, and then the control that goes with it.
I'm glad you bring that up, because today's customers want to see everything the privileged user does to systems in their network, be it in real time or afterwards for audit purposes. This is why WebEx type of tools are the go-to solution for customers to monitor and record what third-party vendors are doing. WebEx, of course, limits the service provider's ability to get their job done. Having a tool that provides this type of over-the-shoulder customer monitoring solves many customer problems with allowing third parties that unsupervised access. Now, the ideal solution is that the access tool will eliminate the need for real-time monitoring of these connections. The MSP access tool should provide intelligent information about a privileged user's activities. It can alert the customer of potential issues. This increases everyone's productivity, right? Investing time in meaningful activities as it relates to service delivery. The other key requirement is enabling customers' ability to control the third-party vendor's access. Having a solution that enables the customer to, like an on-off switch, turn on and turn access for the privileged user, but not impair their ability to monitor the equipment that's installed. Also providing a clear list of the devices and protocols the managed service provider needs to access devices. This gives the customer the necessary information they need to enable connectivity inside their network. These are key features which are not provided by traditional VPN, Citrix, or other access solutions.
You mentioned the word infrastructure, and I usually think of a set of tools, but you're talking more about a sort of a global view of this rather than just simply a piecemeal approach, correct?
Yes. We need to first eliminate customer objections by providing a secure access solution that the customer's IT group will appreciate. It must have more value than the traditional security applications, ultimately eliminating those barriers and solving customer problems. For the managed service provider, the solution must be flexible, enabling almost any remote service, eliminating the patchwork of access methods tied to specific voice applications or management tools. This makes it easy for the managed service provider to quickly deploy services cost effectively and is future-proof, allowing for change in customer requirements. Finally, it's got to be easy to deploy. The security must be inherent and invisible to the people who are responsible for setting up this connectivity between the MSP and the customer location of the cloud where the equipment is installed.
Now, most of our audience doesn't know ION networks. Would you spend a moment telling us about it?
Sure. So for over 25 years, we've been producing a purpose-built solution for enabling privileged user access for remote device administration. So our solution is easy to deploy, it's easy for the technicians to use, and it's incredibly flexible, enabling a wide range of services. It's compatible with almost any voice or IT device and the management applications used to manage and monitor these systems. And of course, the core of the solution is a security architecture that's vetted by third-party certifications such as FIPS and Common Criteria.
Earlier, you went through the evolution of remote services, but now you're adding the evolution of the ION products as well.
So we started building secure systems to secure analysts remote access to mainframes via terminals and dial-up modems. As the voice and data applications were deployed to every office, our solution had to adapt to this distributed architecture. With the introduction of the internet as a service delivery network, our security suite had to be upgraded to meet these challenges, supporting strong encryption and IP access control techniques. VoIP applications now require a broader range of management applications, which required us to support more than just character-based tools. Finally, with the introduction of virtualization and the cloud, our application is now 100% virtual machine enabled. So the bottom line is the problem of securing the privileged user has not gone away. In fact, it's gotten even harder to secure due to the complexity of the systems, the networks that are deployed today. And we keep adapting to meet tomorrow's secure remote delivery needs for both the MSP and their customers.
You mentioned the word applications and the fact that you have to have applications that deal with legacy all the way up to the most modern. I think this particular picture demonstrates that very well.
Absolutely. Flexibility to enable remote services across a wide range of platforms and applications is possibly the greatest value we bring to our customers. Having a single solution that enables remote services to their large install base of both legacy platforms, but also cover current voice and IT applications over the internet solves many of their needs. Right? The ION solution enables remote services to legacy PBXs, small and medium-sized VoIP platforms, large enterprise voice applications over a broad range of remote networks from PSTN, internet, broadband, and wireless. It's like the Swiss Army knife for remote service delivery.
This picture shows two things. We have a gateway and we have appliances. Differentiate between the two of those, or do we need both of those?
Well, you do need both of them. The PRIISMS application is a gateway. It secures the technician's connections to the remote equipment installed at the customer premise. PRIISMS employs a robust set of security techniques, but at the same time, it simplifies the connectivity for the system administrators, making it easy to connect to the equipment without jumping through security hoops. The ION appliance provides a secure connection at the other end of the network, at the customer premise or in the cloud. It also has a point of control and monitoring for the customer of the MSP's activities. This helps build trust and meeting their audit needs. We have several different ION appliance options, including a VM version, which meets the different application requirements.
I think this picture is important because you haven't mentioned the word, but you're interoperable with a lot of different product lines.
I like to say we're vendor agnostic, not only from an IT and VoIP platform perspective, but also from the wide range of management and monitoring tools. It is all providing that managed service provider, one platform for all their remote service delivery needs. This is key to deploying service delivery infrastructure that is future-proof.
Security is a word you've used a lot and I've used a lot. I would think it would be important that your security is an architecture rather than just something as a plugin.
All our security technologies are certified through the FIPS and the Common Criteria process. This confirms that we've implemented them in a reliable and hardened manner. The ION solution also has one of the most robust audit capabilities, including providing customers with notification of potential issues performed by the managed service provider or the privileged user. The ION solution can record the desktop of technicians, computers capturing everything they do to a system. Well, this is important not only from a security forensics perspective, but it also can be used to identify possible mistakes which cause an issue, reducing the duration of an outage by identifying mistakes quickly.
To me, if this is really great, but it's hard to install, I'm not going to use it very much. How do you make this a simplified deployment?
Just like I said before, it's got to be easy to use and easy to deploy. So the ION Services SSL VPN feature is easy to implement for both the field installer and the customer. The ION Secure appliance needs an IP address inside the customer's network that's routable to the internet. It does a secure handshake with the PRIISMS server and establishes this FIPS SSL SSL connection. It's just like an individual inside the network browsing to their bank account using an SSL connection. Finally, all the necessary networking information to enable the firewall rules and access control features are downloaded from the PRIISMS server to the ION appliance. So literally within 10 minutes, a service provider is up and running delivering services.
Benefits of ION solution looks more like business benefits rather than technology benefits.
We want to be able to reduce the cost to delivering services by enabling a broad range of monitoring and management capabilities in a consistent manner. And by deploying a complete solution, the MSP will reduce real-time costs such as truck rolls or one-off customer-specific deployments. Also need to reduce the risk by implementing a security solution that covers both the MSP and their customer. And also be a market differentiator by being proactive in your approach to delivering services on top of a secure service delivery architecture. So we believe the ION solution is a unique application that solves most, if not all, the challenges facing MSPs and their customers in enabling remote services while at the same time limiting the risk associated with privileged user access.
I'd like to point out to people on the next slide that there's a good review of the ION solution and the PRIISMS systems, a case study to read, and a good white paper talking about insider threats, which seems to be the biggest problem we've been talking about. If you're interested in the ION solution, here's the URL, how you can get to support and sales, and their access phone number. Thank you very much, Henry. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Gary.